Greetings, fellow Americans. Recent events and responses to those events are the reason why I'm making this video. First, we'll go through the events, and then I will explain why these responses are causing dismay to me. A little over a month ago, in Las Vegas, we had a mass shooting from a sniper. I did not hear this news till Monday morning. My first response was to make sure that my two friends in the Vegas area were safe, offer condolences, and then move on to try to find out details, factual information of what was actually happening. But when I got on social media, the response was gun control and thoughts and prayers. The next event that happened was a week later. Within 2 miles of this location, a Texas Tech police officer was shot. As soon as I received the text message from Texas Tech, my first response was to secure my location, make sure that my friends in the area were safe, and then start collecting information. But social media was already lit up, even with an active shooter about gun control and banning concealed carry and campus carry. The next event was in New York City, where a person rented a vehicle and mowed down people on a bike path. Surprisingly, social media was relatively silent about this. There was no call for banning rental cars. Why would that be? Because simply, this is something that they would use. The people that are calling for banning on rifles and whatnot have voluntarily chose not to exercise their Second Amendment right, and therefore it doesn't affect them. But if they call for a ban on rental cars, they actually use rental cars and it affects them. Now, the last tragic event that happened was again here in Texas, where an individual went into church service and killed many people. Again, there was outrage on social media for gun control. And again, there was thoughts and prayers for the victims and family. But this time, the thoughts and prayers were criticized by the people asking for gun control, claiming that this is not enough. Well, that may be so, but now I'm going to go into what we can do about this. First off, let me state that the thoughts and prayers are not proffered as a solution, but as condolences for those who had an unexpected tragedy in their lives. It shows compassion. Nothing more, nothing less. Next, as I mentioned earlier, those who are advocating for gun control have voluntarily chose not to execute their Second Amendment right. Now, if you go to a politician and ask them for a solution to any problem, they're going to tell you the same thing. Legislate, regulate. Just as surely as if you go to a snake oil salesman, he's going to have that exact elixir to fix your ailment. Or if you go to a used car salesman, he's going to have the perfect car for you. These are not solutions. Any good scientist, engineer, or doctor, if they analyze something, they are going to look for the causation, not the symptoms. Sure, the symptoms may point them in the right direction, but the causation is what is going to cause the cure. Now, for these recent events, what we need to look into is natural law. More specifically, a subset of natural law, human nature. Now, each of us, as we grow, develop a moral code, be it from our own learning experiences or watching our peers such as parents and teachers, or lessons that we just learned from observing others. But we all have a moral code. And when this moral code is broken is when we have these tragic events like this. Now, what causes someone to break their moral code? My understanding was the Vegas shooter was like 58. So for 30 years of his adult life, he never committed murder. Why did he on that day decide that murder was a good idea? Because of emotional stressors. Each of us has a certain tolerance level that causes us to bend our moral codes. Sometimes these emotional stressors cause us to snap it. Much like if you take a coat hanger and wiggle it back and forth, it'll bend, but eventually, if you push it too far, it will break. And this is what is happening in American society today. Now, some emotional stressors can be varied. It can be financial problems. It can be relationship problems. It can be a combination of either of those two or any other myriad of things. The point I'm making is that each of us has our own unique thresholds before we snap, and each of us has our own unique emotional responses that will cause us to snap. So trying to legislate or regulate any of that, you can't, because this is part of natural law. This is human nature. You can't regulate that gravity won't work on this certain day. So why would you think that you can regulate human nature? Now, some of the things that we can do are help other people. One of the first things we can do is, if somebody has the financial ability, they should at least start an actual news network. A network that gives us factual information of events, not biased, opinionated, slanted things. Because this is causing a polar rift within our community. Each person falls on one side and vehemently defends it, even though logic or any arguments may actually prove them incorrect. They still are adamant about it. The next thing we can do is stop name calling. Constantly, we are being harped on social media, being called racist, white privilege, or any other type of neo-Nazi slander without any factual bearing to that name. Now granted, there are some people that actually deserve this title, but to categorically name all people of a certain group that causes that person or that group to feel alienated and therefore causes them to separate from the others. Now, as I said, this is part of natural law, so we cannot control it. It more or less controls us. We just got to be able to recognize the warning signs. So family members or friends of people who feel that they may be being pushed over the edge need to do something. Next, discussions about things such as politics and religion have become taboo. We can't have an educated discussion with anyone else without it getting violent or heated and resorting to name calling. That is not part of debating. Finally, we need to stop acting as trolls. Social media has brought on a new age of trolling to a level that's paramount to a tidal wave. You say, well, I'm not a troll because my name is on my Twitter account. Yes, that may be true, But if you're twittering to Donald Trump or to Bernie Sanders and they have no idea who you are, you're still anonymous. And therefore you're just trolling. You're not being productive in your comments, and it is causing more animosity among other followers of that person or individual group. So now we are stuck with people wanting to control human nature, natural law, instead of understanding how natural law works and working in conjunction with it. So until we can do that, this country is doomed to continue their bipartisan election of very, very radical people to post to power. Now, if we all learn to do this, and this all has to come from within, we cannot control what others do, but we can control what we do. So the growth has to come within. The unfortunate part about this whole video is that the people that need to understand and learn from this will be the ones that will most likely badmouth me or not even see it at all. And that is the truth. Thank you for your time.